You have to
It's
either
Justin
guess,
Fields.
you have to guess what I picked or
and
try to
convince you.
convince me otherwise.
Okay,
All right, we're live.
after true or false is when I want to throw in Lyle. Lyle goes wild.
Yeah, that's what I have on the sheet, don't I?
No, you have
No.
it under. What's later? Lyle goes wild after Jerry Jones comments.
Yeah, that's when you want to go wild, no?
Where's Jerry Jones
After
comments?
the owners,
It's like the
stuff.
first things on the NFL news. Just
But-
Jones on his
Yeah, works for me.
Right?
Perfect.
All right, Nick, are you doing
Beautiful.
pick 2?
on what?
Can I get
Baseball?
Yeah, there's only baseball.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't bother.
Honestly, is baseball. I feel like it's very consistent at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Honestly,
You know
yeah.
anything about boxing? No, because
No.
there's a really good fight tomorrow. All right, forget it. All right, so we're gonna go live. Well, I mean, we're already live right now, so Lai, want to count me down?
1 second. Let me just tell my mom I love her.
Tell
Tell
your mom I love her too.
I will. Ready? 5.
What's up, YouTube people? All right, if you're gonna eat, mute your mic, Nick.
Yeah, you're gonna stop dicking around with your mic. All right, ready?
Yeah.
5, 4.
Welcome back to another episode of J&J Talk Sports Podcast. We have been on a layoff for a couple of weeks now. We had some technical difficulties. We couldn't get up that last episode for you guys, but we are here now to talk some sports. Yeah, we're here to talk some sports. Did you guys know this is the last week until the Super Bowl that there's not going to be a football game on? Last week. Football starts next week on Thursday, the Hall of Fame game.
Yay!
Football season's here, man.
Revis jersey.
Yeah, and I won't be here. I'm gonna have to stream everything.
Which means a lot of stressful Sundays for us Giants and Jets fans, and a lot of some draft prepping coming up these next couple of weeks. So I can't wait to get that going.
What am I wearing? Easy Palooza. What am I wearing right now?
Tyler jersey.
No, Revis.
Wasn't Tyler 24 in the Jets when he was playing?
Yeah, for like the half season.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, so J&J Talk Sport Podcast, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at J&J Talk Sports. You can also email us at jnjtalksports@gmail.com with any questions, concerns, comments, or future topics you would like for us to discuss. I'm your host, Justin Palizzi. You can follow me on Twitter at EasyPalizzi_21. That's EasyPolizzi_21. Joining me this week, like every other week, one of my 2 overly large size co-hosts. Lyle, how's it going, buddy?
What up? Again, it's your boy Lyle Style, and yes, we have solved the technical difficulties by adding a solid state drive. So hopefully this never happens again. You can follow me at Lyles Style, LYLESSTYLE. I'm hyped to go into this Lyle Goes Wild tonight. It's gonna be. It might hit a couple people in a very personal way, and I do apologize in advance. But before I already go wild, let's kick it over to your boy Stefano and Nick. How's it going?
Hey, La, how you going? Thanks for that introduction. It's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to get into tonight. Again, we're getting closer to the NFL season. We've got a couple of around the world news, whether it be NBA, some golf talk. But yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for football. We're a week away.
Yeah, no, a week away from the most pointless game of the year, which is the very first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game. So I don't even know who's featured. I know the Ravens are playing.
Ravens versus is it Titans?
I don't know. I think it has to be someone who's getting inducted.
I'll look it up right now.
So yeah. Anyways, we're gonna dive in here to the worldwide news. Nick, when you get that, just politely interrupt me. We're gonna get into the worldwide
Bears
news. Ravens, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna get to the worldwide news here. We have the first thing on this sheet, and I'm very, very excited to see this boxing fight tomorrow. Mikey Garcia versus Robert Easter Jr. That is. Mikey Garcia has been phenomenal since a 2-year layover when he ended up getting deported and then ended up being able to come back to the U.S. to fight. Since coming back in his first fight in July of 2016, he is 4-0, and his most notable win was against Adrian Broner to win the super lightweight title. Adrian Broner, as we all know, is a boxer who's trains and is sponsored under Mayweather, so he's reputable. But he's going up against a guy in Robert Easter Jr. who's 21-0, a young guy who, like Mikey Garcia, wants to continue to rise up to the ring. So I'm really really excited to see that fight tomorrow. I got my money on Mikey Garcia. That's my boy, one of my favorite boxers right now. I also want to get into some golf here. Last week we had the British Open. See, this bothers me here. How come? Why do the British people feel like? Why do the British people feel like we can call it the Open? That's what they call it. They
So
call it
I
the
mean,
Open.
I have the reason. It's a very historical reason. Basically, they invented the game of golf, so they get the right. They invented everything, but they're not very good at anything. So this is kind of like soccer for them because they can't win the World Cup, they can't win their own sport. Everyone else is gonna die. They invent the things that we're good at, and I
Yeah,
appreciate them. So we'll give them the naming rights, but they'll never win the title. So it's fine. I have no problem with it.
yeah. It just kind of annoyed me that they feel like they have the right. Like we have the U.S. Open over here. Why can't we just call it the Open? But we call it the U.S. Open. But whatever.
Well, we need to
That's,
call it because it's America. We need to let them know it's
that's the
America.
British. So anyways, it was very entertaining. It was very entertaining. So Tiger Woods was actually had the lead at 5 under. He had the lead at 5 under, and then he completely fell apart on the last 4 holes. He ended up finishing even for the tournament, tied for six. Molinari is his tee off partner, an Italian player. 2 under. He ended up winning on the overall on Sunday. So for a total, Tiger Woods ended up finishing 5 under on the tournament. Molinari finished 8 under. Justin Rose came in second place with 6 under. So Tiger looked really, really good. His driver was amazing. He was putting the ball well, but then like I said, that back end 3 to 4 holes, he just completely fell apart with 2 bogeys there, and he ended up going under 5 and then back up to 5 under. So he did pretty well. Now with that, his odds jumped dramatically for the U.S. Open, which is the last major tournament of the 2018 golf season. So Dustin Johnson opens up as a 7-1 favorite. Rory McIlroy is a 40-1 favorite, and then Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, and Tiger Woods are all 16-1 odds. Now, do you think Tiger even has a chance? I mean, we put up a little picture and a question on our Instagram page asking the same thing. Do you think Tiger could finally win a major for the first time in almost 10 years?
So, I mean, Tiger has been getting better and better since his comeback. He has a chance. He showed he can still. I don't think they call it ball out. I think they call it putt out. He can still putt out there. Yeah. So I think he's got a shot, and it's nice to see Tiger being back.
Right.
But moving on from the British sport to another British sport, we're going to talk about soccer. This past Saturday, I was at the Red Bulls game watching Tyler Adams, future player for Red Bull Leipzig. But also, I saw Bradley Wright Phillips' 99th goal, and he almost had his 100th goal if the penalty wasn't waved off. But Bradley Wright Phillips, the first person to score 100 goals and as fast as he did. Fastest person in the MLS to score 100 goals, playing for the New York Red Bulls, the best team in the MLS. It's awesome. I'm excited. It was amazing. And go Red Bulls.
Did you also see how he celebrated that?
The shirt was amazing because he wears 99 regularly. He ripped off that shirt and 100. He was ready.
He just happened to be casually wearing a 100th goal shirt. I wonder how long he would have been wearing that if he didn't score it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That was a pretty cool celebration. Nick, what we got up next here?
But let's go into one of my favorite entertainers, we might say, in the world, in Conor McGregor. So Conor McGregor, he had pleaded guilty to a single violation of disorderly conduct. He will not be facing jail time, so he can now finally set up some match going forward. He hasn't fought in the octagon since, if I'm correct, since 2016. He also fought last year against Floyd Money Mayweather in the boxing arena, which didn't pan out so well for him, even though I had high hopes.
I mean, it panned out pretty well. He made $30 million.
Yeah. Financially, it was a great move by him, but
yeah,
as far as being a champion, that didn't go so well. But yeah, he finally gets to get back into the octagon. But again, this is what Conor McGregor does. He likes to spur up all this commotion.
Right.
That's what they pay him for. He's this guy that is this badass, and
and commits assault with a deadly weapon here and there.
He
Just
throws
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Honestly, when he did that was kind of disgusting to me. But the UFC has turned into the WWE, but slightly more or less official. I don't know. I have my feelings on this whole McGregor thing. A fine fight, but you're now a sideshow.
Yeah,
in my
McGregor,
opinion.
but sometimes he is a little much.
Yeah, I can't take him seriously. He's a sideshow, and get paid.
And do what you gotta do to make the people love you, or make the people at least pay attention to you. Let's go into the next thing. We know the Padres are bad, but are they
Super
bad to the
bad.
point where they are offering $99 tickets to 5 wins, not 5 games, not a game, 5 wins. So if the Padres were to play tonight, I was to attend the game, and they lost, I'd be going to the next game for free until they got their 5th win. Is this
Wow.
not? I mean, what do you guys think about this?
That's an
Best
amazing deal.
deal in sports.
Yeah, right?
That's an amazing deal.
If I
I would
had the
even-
time,
I basically be a season ticket holder. I just buy one $99
real.
ticket.
That's so
that's why I go to so many Mets games. They're like $3 a pop. Like
exactly.
live sports is great.
But they get you with the food, the concession stands, and all that.
I'm pretty sure the Padres aren't too expensive, but
Yeah, and that will do it for Worldwide News. And what a good transition into our first topic here, which is in fact baseball. And we're right around the corner from the trade deadline for the MLB, which is going to be on Tuesday. So we actually had a lot of trades happen thus far, and we're gonna get into some trades later on in this segment. But I want to go over the first one, which is pretty much the main one, probably the best player available in all of baseball as far as via trade, and that's Manny Machado. Shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles. He was traded to the Dodgers for 5 prospects. Now we know that Manny Machado is very strung up on playing shortstop for whatever team he goes to at the ending of this season, whether he resigns with the Dodgers or he comes to the Yankees or goes back to Baltimore, whatever the case may be. He said he wants to play shortstop, but they have Corey Seager, and Corey Seager is out on this year. He had to get Tommy John surgery, so he'll be back next year playing shortstop for the Dodgers. But is he going to play shortstop for the Dodgers? And that's a question that we will have to ask ourselves. But before we get into that, Eli, I want to ask your opinion on this. Do you think this trade puts the Dodgers over the top in the NL?
It puts them in a very good position. When Corey Seager went down, it's not a small loss. It was a substantial loss, and Manny Machado more than fills the hole there. If this is a 1-year rental, perfect. If it's more than that, then you got to talk Machado into playing third, or talk Seager into playing third or second. You got to wiggle it around a little bit. But for this year, for the short term, excellent move. If I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, it was a good trade, and they didn't give up. I don't think they gave up any more than their top 3 prospects in their farm system. They didn't give up any of those 3, so it's not that bad. And plus, you have to understand these next 2 months in the season, as well as how deep they go in the playoffs. Let's say they go World Series, so you figure they have 4 months worth of his 2 or 3.5 months worth of his service. That's 3.5 months that you have to convince him to stay. Now, yeah, when Corey Seager comes back, you have to put yourself in a situation of who's going to play short, who's going to play third. Actually, I don't even think third's the answer. I think whoever's going to play second, because you have Justin Turner who plays third base. So they're going to be put in a situation. Corey Seager is the young guy, but he's the one that grew up in their farm system. So you have to believe maybe the loyalty lies there. But there's no way Machado's going to play second. So you never know. Maybe they can make it work. If they can't make it work, we do re-sign him. That's going to be fantastic for the Dodgers. They're definitely going to be a threat going forward in the future years. But I don't think this trade puts them over the top than they were already before in the NL.
Yeah.
I just think
they were a very strong team.
Yeah,
It's a strong team that gets stronger.
Yeah, it cancels out the injury that Seager had. So next up in trades, the Mets. And as much as I hate talking about them, we have to. The Mets traded Jeurys Familia for Bobby Wahl and Will Toffey to the Oakland Athletics. Just 2, minor leaguers, 2 quote-unquote prospects. One plays third base, one's a lefty pitcher. So I think they sold him for too cheap. I think they could have gotten something much better for Familia. And the reason why I say that is because what the Yankees did later on, what they did a couple of days later, which I'll get to later on. Like, what do you feel about that trade for the Mets? You think it was worth them just getting 2 minor leaguers, 2 somethings back? Oh, and they also got $1 million in the deal. My bad. I forgot.
Okay. Now the deal makes sense because it's the Wilpons. For all I know, Bobby Wall and Will Toffey will be two of the greatest players of all time. And do you know what the Mets are going to do? They're going to mess it up. So I can't tell if the Mets trade's a good trade. I can't tell if it's a bad trade because no matter what, the Mets are going to mess it up. Right. And good for Familia getting off that team. Watch
him be back next year. Watch him resign him. They're going to try to put some Chapman stuff.
But I'm sure every player on that Mets team's like, why am I here?
For sure.
Especially the next guy I'm going to bring up, Cespedes. He figured out a way to get off the team for 10 months. Injured again. What more can you say? You can't. There's nothing else to say. It's the Mets.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, he was out for 2 months. He came back against the Yankees right on Friday, last week that is, and he played well. He went 2 for 4 with a double and a home run, right? And the whole Sunday he sits out the next game, and then Sunday he they interview him. He's like, oh, okay, I'm fine, I'm doing good. The manager, I'm sorry, is I forget his name. He says, he's doing fine. He's just resting, just sore. And then Monday comes out and, so both of my Achilles knee surgery, I'm going to be out 8 to 10 months. And there it goes.
Are we surprised from the team that can get one of their star pitchers foot and mouth disease?
Right? We didn't even put that
down. But that's a disease for children. I'm just waiting till someone comes out with mad cow disease, scarlet fever, honestly, ground zero for the next pandemic is going to be in the Mets locker room. Calling it now. Yeah,
so I want to move on here to the Yankees. There was a big controversy that just happened. I believe it was 2 days ago. So the Yankees are versus the Rays. Severino's on the mound. The leadoff batter, Bauer, for the Rays hits a leadoff double. Severino throws a ball in the dirt in which, Sanchez should have blocked it, but knowing his defensive skill set is not there, of course. Okay, whatever, he didn't block it. So the ball gets away from him. He walks to the ball. And as he's walking to the ball, Bauer's already advancing to third base. He's going to get them no matter what, whatever Sanchez does. But Sanchez continues to walk to the ball. Bauer turns the corner and starts heading for home. And then Sanchez decides to run after it and throws a bad ball to Severino, who's covering home plate, and he scores. That was disgusting. But then you have bases loaded in the top of the 9th inning. 2 outs with Sanchez on deck, and he hits a ball up the middle, right? Now, that's an easy flip for the second baseman to get the force out and end the game. But Aaron Hicks, he hustled so much from first to second. I don't even know how he got there on time, Lyle. I don't know if you saw the play. Hicks got to second so fast and slid in, and he was safe. He was safe at second. That means first base, whoever's running to first base, no matter if you're Nick, if you're Lyle, if you're me, if you're Usain Bolt, or the slowest man in the world, you're getting there safely because by all means, you just hit a ball up the middle. They got the ball. They threw it a second. He was safe. They hesitated and then threw the ball at first. You have to be safe. No. Sanchez starts walking out the box, jogging out the box, basically, and jogs down the line. And he's seeing the play react the whole time. The whole time he's watching the play develop, and he's still jogging. And then after the game, Sanchez is going back on a DL. His hamstring was bothering him. That's probably why he wasn't running hard.
Well, no, he admitted to it after the game. He admitted to it after the game too that he should have run it out. But here's my take. First, let me talk about the pass ball. Sanchez, we know his defensive deficiencies, but he makes up for it offensively. In the past month, he hasn't been that great from the plate. He hasn't been that good catching. He needs to reevaluate his worth, because if he doesn't perform at the plate, he's a liability.
Yep.
And that's going to be a problem that the Yankees, Aaron Boone, might have to make a tough decision. This might be one of Aaron Boone's, one of his moments in his first year of manager.
Yep.
Now, not running out the ball.
Dude. It was annoying. It was definitely frustrating to watch that happen. And the Yankees were right there. All Sanchez had to do was just hustle down the line, and Judge would have scored and tied the game up. But
my dude, Gary Sanchez, my dude, my man, you're paid millions of dollars.
We know you're listening.
To run to first. To run to first. That's why I had some beef with Robinson Cano, as talented as he was. Sometimes
But
he jogged
he
down.
never did that when the game was on the line, and
No,
you
but
have to say that for
as
Carmelo.
a ball player, as a
Yeah,
baseball
yeah.
player
Okay.
with
Anyways,
guaranteed contracts,
yeah.
you
So
run everything out.
so
It's ridiculous.
Gleyber Torres has finally been reactivated from the DL. The Yankees were 9-9 in the games that he was on the DL, which shows how valuable he is playing second and batting in the middle of that lineup. So it's good to have him back. Now we're gonna talk about some trades that the Yankees did. So today they did a trade for J Hap, and it's pronounced J Hap, not J A Hap, like some people think it is. They traded Brandon Drury and Billy McKinney, who was a very good minor leaguer player, but every time he got called up, he would never succeed in the big league. So you don't really lose anything there. I did not like giving them Drury. I feel like Neil Walker's old and he could get hurt any minute. And then with the struggles of Bird hitting the ball, you would like the option of playing Neil Walker over there at first base and then keep Drury at second. But nonetheless, we got a starter who's probably going to be our third starter if Sonny Gray does not somehow turn it around. Lyle, what do you think about the trade?
So the trade, I mean, I like it. Drury was, doing nothing. It gives us some more pitching. Yeah, I mean, good trade. Nothing mind blowing. Nothing that says, "Oh my God." Nothing that's nothing huge, but solid trade. No,
Right,
no complaints.
and then the Yankees also traded for Zach Britton, who in the month of July has had a 0 ERA with a .86 WHIP, which is phenomenal. They traded Cody Carroll, Josh Rogers, and the one that I'm like, why did we have to give up Dylan Tate, but Dylan Tate as well. So basically 3 prospects we give up for Zach Britton, and we basically make this bullpen stronger than what it already was. So I really like that move. I want to move on quickly here with the next few trades in the MLB. Red Sox traded for Nathan Eovaldi, who was formerly a Yankees pitcher, for Jalen Beeks. A good move for them because they need a starting pitcher as the whole league. Astros traded for catcher Martin Maldonado from the Angels for a left-handed pitcher Patrick Sandoval. Once again, getting a nice asset by giving up nothing. And then this is breaking news. This just happened during the podcast, like maybe like 2 minutes in. I was looking at my phone and got the update. The Cubs just traded for Cole Hamels. They traded for Cole Hamels.
Cole Hamels is still in the league.
Yeah, so I mean, Cole Hamels is a solid starter. He's not going to be your 1, 2, or 3, but he's going to give you what he does. Low 4, high 3 ERA with a lot of strikeouts and not that many homers given up. So it's a good pickup for the Cubs there. So you see all the contending teams, right? The Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Astros, the Cubs, and the Yankees all making trades so far at this trade deadline. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to finish. Moving on here now to the next topic here is the NBA, and there was a lot of NBA offseason things that happened. We talked a lot about this stuff the last few weeks, but we didn't get that content out to you guys, so we are going to recycle some of these topics.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Nick, I'm going to swing this over to you here first. So we know the Kawhi Leonard trade, right? So we know it was for Kawhi Leonard was traded to Toronto for DeRozan, a first-round pick, and the center Powelli or Powelty, I don't even know how to say his name. Raptors also get Danny Green in the trade. Now the first-round pick is protected, so if it ends up being in the lottery, then the Raptors get to keep the pick. But I don't think that's going to happen, obviously, because they should make the playoffs playing in the East. Nick, what are your thoughts about this trade?
Well, depends how you want to look at it. Both players find it dirty. They both weren't happy with how this trade panned out. But to be honest, DeRozan, you had plenty of time to make some sort of moves over there. You haven't made it to the finals. You had many opportunities to. Um, I think the Raptors do get a decent deal out of this. Kawhi Leonard is healthy is I would say like a top 3 to 5 player in the league. Now with LeBron out of the East, and with Kawhi Leonard, which I would say is an upgrade from DeRozan, they can finally get over that hump, make it to the NBA Finals. No team is being the Warriors. No team was being the Warriors this year other than the Rockets. They just got Cousins. That team is even better than last year somehow. Um, I think it doesn't really matter to be honest. But the Raptors did get a little better.
What about you, Lau?
So for the Spurs, I like it for the Spurs. They get a player who's willing to be coach. Popovich, I think, is going to do wonders with DeRozan. For the Raptors, again, it's the same team. There's no LeBron. Should make it to the finals. I mean, to Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. Yeah. I mean, as long as Kawhi is half engaged, the East is going to be interesting. I don't know. We might see the surprise Pacers, but at the end of the day, the West is the arms race. The West is.
I actually love the trade for the Spurs because they got back an all-star whose average is 24 points a game, who I feel like with Popovich, you can even, I mean, who's to say that we saw the ceiling of DeMar DeRozan? Maybe Pop could get it out more of him. Maybe he can make me a better player. Just a hypothetical, of course. We don't know that. I think DeRozan is DeRozan. You're gonna you see what you're gonna get with him.
Coach of the year.
Yeah, and then on the flip side of that, I mean, just going into the season, knowing that Boston's going to get Kyrie and Hayward back, I would say that the Raptors would have lost in Game 5, maybe Game 6, in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. With the upgrade with Kawhi Leonard now, they just probably lose in 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. So for me, yes, they got the better player. They also added Danny Green, it's no pushover. He's a nice role player. Might even be a starter for them with the depth that they have there. They don't have that much depth, so they do have a good bench, but you may not want to put those bench players in the starting role. So with that said, I think yes, the Raptors did get the better player in Kawhi Leonard, and they have him for a year to try to convince him to stay there. Listen, Paul George was able to stay OKC, right? We were all convinced that he was going to go to LA, and he didn't. So who knows? If Kawhi ends up staying and re-signing to a long-term deal with the Raptors, then they do win the trade. But as of right now, in hindsight, I don't think they do. Now, some confusing NBA news. Kevin Love signs an extension with the Cavs. He was set to make $25 million this year. They give him a 4-year extension worth $120 million overall to pay $145. I'm head scratching over here. Lyle, what are you doing over there?
I am understanding what Cleveland is doing.
I understand the money-wise situation as
well. So, not even money. Cleveland has a bunch of LeBron leftovers and one bona fide superstar who has shown when he's by himself, he could put up numbers. They're hoping to see the Kevin Love of old now that he's not hampered by the LeBron offense. But this was their only play. There's no one else they could have gotten. They don't have the cap room. And they're going to say, you know what? If we're not going to be that good, we might still make the 8th seed in the East, and we have a superstar for the next couple of years. We have someone here that can carry the franchise. I mean, it's the only move for the Cavs. You can't let Love walk because you have nothing else. What do you do? Make J.R. Smith the feature of the Cavaliers? Because that's your only other option. He's the only one with some form of charisma. It's the only thing the Cavs could do. The Cavs are up a river without a paddle.
Well, that whole team has nothing to be looking forward to. Like, they lost LeBron. Now they're arguably the worst 5 team in the league. They didn't make really any acquisitions. They're just throwing a ton of money at Love, and there's really nothing glorified to see about this team.
The money part of it actually makes sense because they're gonna pay him, I think, roughly $40 million this year, 33 over the next 2, and then the last 2 years they're paying him like $20 million. So you figure on those last 2 years they probably be able to get rid of him quicker. But for me, I felt like, okay, you have $25 million for 1 year left. What if a team like, I don't know, the Wizards, right? They're an 8th seed, a 7th seed. That's a bad example, but like a team that's up and coming, right? That they're a surprise team to make the playoffs. They're in the playoffs, and they need a superstar to be added. And then at the trade deadline, you could trade a Kevin Love. You could trade a Kevin Love to that team and get something for him before him walking. Instead, they extend him, and now they have to deal with him for the next 5 years, paying him a lot of money. But that's just my thought on it. I felt like
if they get the Kevin Love of old, though, in the East, they can make the playoffs. And we don't know what we're going to see from Colin Sexton. We don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Exactly. We'll see. In other news of previous and current overpaid players, Carmelo Anthony, the sweepstakes are on. He was traded from OKC to the Atlanta Hawks for Dennis Schroeder, which I thought was a fantastic move for OKC. That was an amazing move. Atlanta already bought Melo out for his full $27.5 million, I believe, give or take $500,000. It might be 27, it might be 28. and odds are he's going to sign with the Houston Rockets. There was a rumor floating around that he may go to Miami and be the guy there, but I think if he does do that, he's stupid. Just go to Houston, be the third player on that team, and try to win a championship there. So, Nick, what do you think about this? Do you think Milo's a good fit over there in Houston?
I mean, his argument is he wants to be a starter. He thinks he can still be a starter. The reason why he didn't want to stay in OKC was because they were transitioning him into a bench role, which honestly is where he belongs. Over the last year, he's had career worst in points per game, which was about like 16.8, 16.2, whatever it was. Career low in assists per game. It was at 1.2. Field goal percentage per game. 40. It was around 40%. He was averaging career worst in almost everything possible. Wants to be a starter. Now going to Houston, there may be a conflict there, but now with Trevor Ariza gone, there is a position available. Maybe they can work something out. He possibly does become a starter there. I could see it happening. I think he still has a little bit left in the tank, although defensively he was atrocious. We all saw in the series against the Utah Jazz. It was terrible defense down the stretch, which I think cost them a couple of those games. But I think he should work something out with Houston and try to at least go for a ring.
Wow.
I can't. I'm going to talk about the Schroeder aspect first.
I love Schroeder also, by the way.
Yeah, OKC getting Schroeder. I don't think Schroeder starts, but it's the perfect six man when Russ needs to take a seat. He's a distributor. He can shoot. He can create his own.
Minutes.
Yeah, he'll get some.
He'll get some starting minutes, but he's
he'll get starter minutes. Like
no, I see what you're saying. He's gonna be an excellent addition. Getting Melo off that team was a must. And I think OKC comes out stronger. Now Melo, honestly, the Rockets should prioritize Clint Capella first. Melo is a luxury that they don't actually. I don't think they need. They need another 3-and-D winger, but. Whatever. I don't hate the idea of Melo going down to Miami, and the reason why is it gives Miami another scorer, and Eric Spoelstra has dealt with LeBron, Wade, and Bosch. He knows how to handle a petulant superstar, and he's been a very good coach. So I don't think him going to Miami is the worst idea. It gives him an easier path to the NBA Finals. Well, the playoffs and the finals, but at the same time, any team that brings on Melo has to understand you are going to be playing with 4 men on defense unless Melo goes back to his Nuggets days where he was guarding Kobe like an animal. But we're not going to see that. Melo, please just disappear for your own sake and build your businesses. You've done enough.
He's actually come out and said that he came out, I believe it was today, that he came out and said that it was never a good fit with him in OKC. So,
we all knew that.
No crap, right? Yeah, of course. In other news, the best signing, I believe, this whole offseason. And this beats the LeBron James signing by a long shot. Michael Beasley, former New York Knickerbocker, has signed with the LA Lakers. Once again, just confusing me with all these assets that they're bringing in to play with LeBron. I just don't get it. Lai, you want to clear that up for me?
They're bringing in 30 players on 1-year deals so they don't overtax LeBron, so they can go after free agents next year. Honestly, the Lake Show is going to be really entertaining because you have Beasley, who would have been the best player in 1989. You have Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, LeBron, the Ball family, and you have some young players that are going to look good. This is going to be will they be an excellent team? No. Will they be entertaining? Absolutely, and I'm excited for it. I'm ready.
You have to remember, Michael Beasley is your favorite player's favorite player. So you have to remember that. So when he goes to LA, he's going to be telling a lot of people, look, yo, Kobe's your favorite player? Well, I'm Kobe's favorite player. So imagine him actually coming out saying something stupid like that. Nick, what did you
hear? Because he knows that humans only use 10% of their brain. He uses 12% of that. I saw that interview. My mind exploded. Like he is the Galileo of our generation. He's the Da Vinci of our generation. He is a brilliant mind that is misunderstood because he should have been born in 1989.
All right, Nick, what about you? How do you feel about the Michael Beasley signing to LA?
I like it. You gotta surround LeBron with some role players. Michael Beasley was at certain times in the season.
He was
some sort of like excitement for the Knicks. Is he gonna really put them over the top? I don't think so, but again, you have to fill some players there.
What about the next thing on this list? Because you're the one that actually brought a light to me. I didn't know this was going on, the beef between Durant and
Durant,
CJ.
CJ McCollum, it's hilarious. So apparently Durant was on a CJ McCollum's podcast,
which is
and
almost as good as ours. Almost.
not even close. Come on, dude.
I actually heard that it wasn't. Like I heard like we like get more viewership than he does.
Most likely.
You hear that, CJ McCollum? I know you're listening.
I know you're taking pointers here, but no, what blew this up was CJ McCollum was apparently, for lack of better words, complaining that Durant had gone to the Warriors, that the Warriors acquired DeMarcus Cousins, and that it's not making it fair for all the teams in the West or even any team in the league who are trying to win a championship. And you have Durant on the other hand saying, basically laughing at CJ McCollum, who CJ McCollum said that the Blazers were a team that could win the championship or an NBA title, and Durant basically was just chuckling and laughing in his face, saying basically, "Come on, dude, you're not winning a ring. You're not getting a title there." And CJ McCollum basically, to paraphrase what he wrote on Twitter was, it was like you're on a team or you're with your boys, and another gang jumped you guys, and then you left your boys,
Then
went to
you
that
left your
gang,
and beat up your boys.
and beat up your own boys. Which I understand. I can understand what he's saying. There is a reference there, but a little extreme, a little salty. CJ McCollum, take it easy.
Well, I mean, later on, he said, "Yo, I'm gonna drop this because this is soft," and I'm just sitting there thinking, CJ, if it wasn't for Damian Lillard, we would never hear about you. It's always Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, but he's allowed to have beef. He's allowed to be entertaining on this podcast. Again, I think the media blew up the beef a little out of proportion to get some viewership.
Like the bad guy too.
Yeah, well, he owns some reporters in an interview being like,
Yeah,
"Who's mad? Am I mad? No, CJ's mad. CJ took the first shot."
It was such an annoying.
Yeah, and Durant's right. Again, this is grade D, low quality beef. Come back to me when we have grade A, prime rib beef. I want to see real beef. All this NBA beef, 99.9% of it is just posturing and fake. If you're gonna throw beef and shade, do it with some purpose. I'm tired of this posturing. I'm tired of it.
All right, you guys ready for some fun? We're gonna play a little game we like to play, True or False. It's where I give a statement, and either Nick or Lyle will win this. And the way it works is I give a statement. They have to say whether it's true I believe it, or false I don't. And basically guess what I believe. And if they happen to guess wrong, but convince me to go side with them, then they get a point. So it's pretty simple.
So basically, this is convince Justin that he's wrong.
Justin's feels is what we should call it.
Yeah, this is Justin's feels. I like that.
Justin's hashtag Justin's feels.
We should also mention that I'm the defending champion.
Yeah, we are now renaming this game Justin's Feels.
Justin Fields. So, in this week's version of Justin Fields of True and False, we are doing an NFL special. Being that the season is right around the corner, I'm going to give you guys 5 statements, all NFL related. I'll start off with the first one, and Nick, you'll be up first here. The NFL would not make standing for the national flag mandatory this year.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Otherwise, there will still be players taking knees. There would be players suspended or fined, and it's going to be catastrophic. The amount of players rallying around this would just destroy the NFL itself.
I'm going to have to agree. The NFL will not force players to stand. They will give them the several options, some of which might not be, like they said, stay in the locker room or come out or whatever. But no, they will not force standing, but they will force some form of respect.
Yeah, it was true for me. So you both get a point there. I'm going to go on to the next one here. The 2017 Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, would not make the playoffs in 2018. Lau, you go first.
I have to go with false. Their division is not the greatest. There's a lot of weaknesses. They're coming back with a relatively the same team. Carson Wentz is back, who won most of the games for them. And they have the backup of Nick Foles just in case Carson Wentz is not at 100%. It's hard to bet against this Eagles team right now with where they're at, where their roster is, where the quarterback play is.
I mean, again, they said the same thing about the Cowboys. Was it 2 years ago when they had that dominant season? There was nobody standing in their way. Dak Prescott was this good. Zeke Elliott was that good.
It was exactly last year.
And last year they didn't make the playoffs. Well, we had this conversation the other day, and I was saying that I wouldn't be surprised, and I was gonna make the bold take that the Eagles don't make the playoffs this year. Giants are healthy, a lot healthier than last year. Slight improvement on their O line. Saquon Barkley in the backfield. OBJ is healthy. They got rid of the cancer Brandon Marshall, which got hurt anyway, but so it didn't really matter. There is going to be that divisional competition there. You have Alex Smith and the Redskins, who are not a joke. They will have some competition. Come on, Lau. Don't laugh.
So what's the answer? True.
I told you I was going to go with the bold take that the Eagles don't make this
Yep.
playoffs this year. And
So yeah, Lie didn't do much convincing for me. I don't think the Eagles make the playoffs next year. So Nick gets a point there. So he's
although
leading
you
right
may
now
be
2-1.
slightly biased because you are a Giants fan, you think that they're going to win.
Yeah, I
division.
forgot.
I mean, that
this
would have
was-
been smart. See, if Lie was playing to win,
Lau, you forgot this is
he
Justin
would've known
Fields.
that.
I'm playing for the people, and the people want the truth.
All
The
right,
truth
next
is,
one.
I'm willing to bet on the Eagles don't make the playoffs this year.
Next one. This one's for Nick. Nick, you start off this one first. Earl Thomas will be traded by the start of the season.
Excuse me?
Earl Thomas will be traded by the start of the NFL season.
Oh no, I don't. I want to say false. They have to somehow respect this. Earl Thomas is so good. I don't want to see him traded. I gotta say false. Wow.
Earl Thomas will not only be traded, but he will be a card-carrying member of the Dallas Cowboys before the season starts.
Good.
Earl Thomas is gone. They don't want to pay him. Legion of Boom is dead. Everyone has retired or left.
He's
Earl
the
Thomas,
last thing standing.
he's
He has to.
relic, and they need to move on. And I think they're going to try and get for him what they can because they are not going to pay him. Earl Thomas is getting traded for a 5th-round pick because that's all they can get at this point.
Yep, and lastly, you're taking that one because I do think he ends up getting traded. Ultimately, he's holding out right now. He wants more money and or to be traded. So they're gonna get something for him. I think.
But he doesn't get traded. I want this point
I
back.
don't think they get a 5th round. I think they get more so like towards like the 3rd or 4th round area, because he's at least worth a second. But yep. So right now we have a tied game 2-2 going into the 4th statement here. Now you lead off this one first.
Got to make it interesting.
Andrew Luck will lead the league in passing yards next year.
So false, it hurts my soul. Andrew Luck is coming. He hasn't thrown a football in competitive play in what, years? It feels like years. It might not be years, but it's not.
I mean, he was throwing the ball. He was slinging it today.
Yeah, he was slinging it in practice. He hasn't taken a hit in years. Again, the Colts are not a good team. And also, you're dealing with
down a lot. No,
you're dealing with the other quarterbacks who are in this league. You still have Breezes juice. You still have Jared. Is it Jared Goff? Whatever. The Ram. I can't even remember quarterbacks.
Just name 2 quarterbacks who I don't even think will finish in the top 12 next year.
You're dealing with Kirk Cousins, who's going to be throwing like a maniac. Aaron Rodgers, we're dealing with.
Now you're naming quarterbacks. Now you're naming real quarterbacks.
There's so many quarterbacks that are going to have so many yards that are not coming off of injuries. Matt Ryan is going to outthrow him. Honestly, Andrew Luck might be in the top 10, but he hasn't taken a hit in years. We don't know if he's actually going to be an effective game player at this point.
Nick?
Honestly, my Justin Fields answer wants to say that you think he will, but it's just ridiculous to say. I love Andrew Luck, but he's not going to lead the league in passing yards. I can name 5 quarterbacks easily, but I think we'll have more yards than him. But false.
Yeah, so you both get a point here. I try to trick you guys to saying true that I believed it, but as much as I love Andrew Luck, he's not leading the league in yards next year.
You crazy?
I don't even think he attempts
you.
close to what his average per year is because of that. Because exactly what Lyle said, like he hasn't played competitive football in a couple of years. You can't make him throw the ball 600 plus times. You're gonna have to limit him regardless because you're not making the playoffs.
Then again, the Colts and the Colts coaching staff is bad.
Yep. So here's the last one. So let's see if you guys go Oppo not purposely but for real. So Nick, you go first here. Both New York football teams do not make the playoffs next year.
We both do not make playoffs this year?
Yep.
Nah, false. False. It's gonna be hard for the Giants. I can see them getting close to a playoff position. I like the Jets' chances, to be honest. Last year we were 5 or 6 games that we lost by very close margins. We tightened up the ship a little bit on the Jets. I like how the defense is looking this year. When it comes down to like those cold, like icing the games where a defense might have to like lock down and get that final stop. I think the Jets are finally in a position to do so. We upgraded our receiving core. We're getting Quincy Enunwa back. We have Terrell Pryor. Whoever starts at quarterback, let's say McCown goes down. I love Bridgewater. I think he can do a great job. If Sam Darnold needs to step in, I've been reading that he's been looking great. I think the Jets are a lot better than last year. When it comes down to those 5 or 6 games, close games, I think the Jets can come away with about 4 of 6, which would have led to a playoff berth this year. So I say false one. One will at least make.
All right, since you said false, I am going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to have to say true, and here's why. The Giants are coming off an abysmal season. Yes, I do understand injuries played a factor. You have OBJ back, you have Saquads, sure. Your secondary still played like trash last year. Nothing has changed in that secondary. The linebacking core is still weak. You have a solid pass rusher in Olivier Vernon, but your defense is nowhere near playoff caliber when you're going against Vikings, when you're going against Saints, Falcons, the Panthers that no one's talking about. In your own division, again, as much as I hate on the Redskins, Alex Smith knows how to win games against teams he needs to beat. The Cowboys aren't scrubs. The Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl championship with a solid team. There's just so many teams that you look at on paper that are going to push the Giants aside. Now, the Jets, I hear what you're saying, Nick, and I'm with you. We're a year away. We are 1 year away. We have a very young team. I think we're still going to have issues closing out the games, whether it's McCown quarterbacking, whether it's Darnold or Teddy Bridgewater. Again, we're taking steps in the right direction. I think we need 1 or 2 more impact players, 1 or 2, like maybe 1 on the offensive ball, 1 on the defensive side, especially in our linebacking core.
Well, that will. No one back. We added Terrell Pryor.
But again, I think we're missing a linebacker. We're missing that offensive stud. Again, I think the Jets are close. I think the Giants are also closer than they were, but they both still have steps to take to be in that playoff contention.
So I actually do think the Giants could make the playoffs next year.
So you do.
But a lot of you made such a good argument that you're the winner for this round. He made a really good argument. I think the Giants. I think the Giants are actually closer than the Jets to make the playoffs. If I had to pick one of the two, especially based off schedule, Jets do have a pretty tough schedule next year. But then again, you guys do play the Bills and Dolphins twice a year, so you could pencil four wins right there. But yeah, that will do it for Justin Fields true or false. Lyle takes the W today, so. The series is tied 1-1. The series is tied 1-1. So that was pretty fun. So we're gonna go into the next topic here, which is going to be the NFL, and we're gonna dive right into some political stuff here, and just pretty quickly, just to update everybody on what's going on. Right. So we all know about last month that the Jets owner came out. Christopher Johnson, Woody Johnson.
Yeah, to be clear, Woody Johnson is the owner of the Jets, but he's busy being the diplomat to the United Kingdom or Great Britain. So his brother, who I love, who's been so much better than Woody in every way, shape, and form, is right now the caretaker and has been killing it, in my opinion, on the statements. Justin, tell us what he's saying.
So basically, Christopher Johnson came out and said, Jets players can take a knee or perform another type of protest without fear of repercussion from the New York Jets. I love that he came out and said this. He actually said this about a month ago. Actually,
he was the first owner
to say it.
You say something.
Yeah, he was the first owner to say it, and then right across the stadium, the New York Giants, Trish has came out and said the same thing, the same exact thing, saying that players for the New York Giants will not be fined any. They will not be fined $1, a cent, a penny, nothing, if they decide to protest the national anthem. So listen, both New York owners have come out and said the right thing, I think, in my opinion. And we're not going to get into opinions right now, what's right and wrong, because we could go back and forth, and I don't like being political, especially on a sports podcast, but I do think what they said was the right thing. Now, Trump came out right away after Tish's comments and said that, basically, to sum it up, his tweet was like, I can't believe the national anthem debate is still going on. I can't believe owners are sticking up for their players. The $40 million man that is the commissioner needs to make it a 1-game suspension, first-time offense, second-time offense, suspended for the year without pay. I think Trump is being a little excessive there, but at the same time, that's he
That is
reacted
a
right away to
concern then.
Tish's comments.
Yeah,
You know,
doesn't he have a nation to run? I don't know. He has a nation to run. I don't understand why he's commenting on sports.
yeah,
Again, I think the Jets and Giants are doing. And I'm going to talk about this in sports terms. The Giants and Jets owners are doing this well for their team because now they can focus on their game because they don't have to worry if they're going to do their protest. Oh no, am I going to affect my team? Am I going to be able to play? For the sport, in pure sports terms, this is good for the team because they can keep their team intact no matter what they need to do.
Nick,
Again,
you have an issue with our owners coming out and stating these things.
Well,
No, again,
they're
they
willing to defend their players. Of course not.
Yeah.
That's exactly what every owner in the league should be saying. It's the
Yeah.
players' decision to do what they want.
And like you said, right? So you think every owner should be saying this about their teams, but then there aren't owners like that. So you have the Bengals owner, Mike Brown, who said that he refuses to answer any questions regarding the national anthem. And the reason why he said that was because one, he doesn't like to talk about it in public, and he doesn't want to give his opinion to the public. And but also that ever since Tish's comments came out and Trump's tweet came out, the commissioner has asked all NFL owners to stop talking about the situation and wait for the new collective bargaining agreement to go through and everything like that. So he has asked everyone to stand down and refrain from answering those questions. Guess who is the one owner in the NFL
Wait,
that
before we
completely ignored that?
before we get to there, I'm okay with them not saying anything. Just tell the team, tell your players, tell them what to expect from you. That's what
Yeah.
you owe. You owe the people, your employees. You owe the employees the policy. You owe them the handbook. Tell them what you intend to do. Don't leave them in the lurch.
Well, yeah. Well, he didn't. I didn't. I just read briefly on this. It's not that he didn't want to mention what he plans on doing. He just didn't want to mention his thoughts about it
Yeah.
and about the anthem because
Absolutely.
the commissioner has stated, "Listen, guys, I know you guys are the owners. I know you guys want to come out and say a whole bunch of things. Just refrain from saying it right now." And he asked all the owners, all the NFL owners, he asked them all to be quiet. Just stand down. Let's handle this internally before anything else gets out. But there is one owner in the NFL who thinks he's above and beyond everybody else. For some reason, he just feels the need to have to come out and say what he said. And do you guys know who that owner is?
I would
I'm
assume Jerry
pretty.
Jones.
I thought it was Jerry Jones's son, or was it Jerry Jones? I'm not sure. It was both of them.
It was Jerry. It was Jerry freaking
Because
Jones.
Stephen Jones also said something as well.
So Jerry Jones came out and said that he is making a team rule that his players will stand toe on the line for the national anthem, unless and if not, they'll be suspended. So I want to ask Mr. Tough Jerry Jones. First of all, you should not have said anything because you were asked by your boss, the commissioner, not to say anything. But I want to ask you, week 14, week 15, maybe week 16, versus the Giants, you need a win to make the playoffs or to even clinch. Ziggy Elliott decided to take a knee the week before. You're going to bench your best player? Dak Prescott takes a knee or doesn't come out from the locker room during the national anthem. You're going to bench your quarterback? I don't buy it. I don't think Jerry Jones would do something like that. I think he's saying what his fans want to hear, because as we all know, Texas was a very heavily Trump voted and Trump supported state. So I just think he's just saying things to support his fans because he wants to protect his business. What do you guys think about this?
Also, his son Stephen Jones said on the radio today, he was asked the question whether he believed players would fall in line with the club rule. Stephen Jones stated, if they want to be a Dallas Cowboy, yes. Again, they're not mixing signals. They are establishing what they expect. Yes, I think it has something to do with Dallas. It has something to do with it being America's team. But again, I honestly, with my personal beliefs with the Jets and Giants, it was cool. But if I was an owner, I wouldn't say a word. I don't need to bring attention to my team in that sort of light. We're already getting enough publicity as the NFL. We're the NFL. I'm just letting my employees know this is what's happening. This is what to expect. Let's just focus on football. You don't have to worry about this nonsense. And that's, as a sports fan, as someone who wants my team to win, that's all I want. I want my team to be okay, and I want them to focus on sports. As a human being, again, I have lots of opinions, but this is a sports podcast, so I don't want to get too in-depth into my political views on it.
Nick, you have anything to say about that?
I mean, it's overall just a ridiculous situation. Players should be allowed to do what they want. Again, Jerry Jones should not have come out and said my players will be standing for the national anthem because again, you never know
Toe on the
what's
line
gonna
too
happen.
at
You
that.
never know what's gonna happen. And if one of your better players wants to kind of rebel and take a knee or fist up or something that would be considered disrespectful to the national anthem, you're screwed.
Yeah. So I think it's that time. I think it's that time. I think it's time for a Lyle Goes Wild segment. We haven't had one in quite some time. Lyle,
Is
floor is
Lyle
yours,
turning
buddy.
green right now? Is
Yo,
he turning purple?
Lyle is livid. And I've hit out at the owners of sports teams before, especially their stadiums. But we are about to be in for a sports reckoning. Yes, a reckoning across every single major sport except for hockey. But that's one thing hockey's got going for it. They have a very good CBA. Now, in 2021, 2020, the NFL is going to be renegotiating their collective bargaining agreement. And oh my God, the NFL and the players on the lower end are going to be, again, up a creek without a paddle. The NFL players, and they have every right, have so many grievances against these owners, have so many grievances against those people up at top. It's going to be a bloodbath. I think we don't see a season for, we might not see an entire season. We might have an entire year lockout. And you want to know why? Because the NFL owners are greedy. It's pure, unadulterated greed. Every NFL team makes a profit. This is known. This is fact. There is no way around it. Even if they report a loss on the tax breaks alone, every NFL team makes at least 10 to 50 million easy in the owner's pockets. What are you protecting? What are you so afraid of that you won't let, yes, you might lose a little fan base here and there for little things here and there. You're not going to lose your entire revenue stream. Why are you doing this? You're sowing the weeds for your own destruction. And as fans of the sport, we would love to not see the NFL disappear for a year. We would love for the owners and the players to get along and have an understanding and have the players respected and the owners respected. But the owners are shooting themselves in the foot repetitively with ridiculous policies that aren't coherent when it comes to punishments, with ridiculous drug policies, and with this whole national anthem nonsense. All of this should be easily resolved, but they can't seem to physically do it because they are greedy. It comes down straight to greed. And this CBA is going to change the NFL as we know it. To a lesser extent, the NBA is the same way. They're not having the same issues. They do allow a lot more player opinion. But if you look at the top tier to the bottom tier, if you look at all these rookie contracts, you look at how skewed the NBA is looking, the next CBA, the NBA is going to be in for a reckoning. All these teams, all these owners are making a lot of money, and the players want their cut. The players are the product. I understand the owners have to make this as a business, but they are going to be in for a reckoning when the players want their cut because they are the product. They are putting their lives on the line. You're going to see that, again, soccer has a whole other ton of issues with awful financing rules, with the huge disparity, and soccer will be in for a reckoning when everyone finds out how much fraud's going on, which, yes, there's fraud in soccer. And I'm going to rewind back to the MLB is also going to have problems, especially with their lower tier players. A lot of the minor league players don't even have a living wage. Single A, double A, they're getting paid, what, $10,000, $20,000 a year, no hotel, no food. All these owners of these teams have the money to treat their players right. Again, not everyone's going to be a millionaire. Not everyone needs to be paid the $120 million, which some people think is too much. But you really need to look at the product. The product is your players. Without them, you don't have a business. You have nothing. Every sport, again, except for hockey, because they just don't seem to have these kind of problems, are in for a reckoning, and we might be missing seasons of NFL, seasons of the NBA, and we might have some MLB lockout. It's going to be, we're in for some of the biggest labor struggles that we have seen on a national stage in a very long time. And it could affect national labor relations, 4 years. Yes, and I'm saying outside of sports, this type of collective bargaining could affect every single person. So everyone, sports fan or not, be ready because the reckoning is coming. Oh my goodness. Whew.
And that was Lyle Goes Wild. That was awesome, Lyle. That was actually pretty cool. Um, in addition to what you said, it's so true about hockey. Hockey has a very like they actually put caps on what you can even pay a player. Um, as far as like their salaries and stuff like that. Like there's no like max or whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
hockey had their lockout. They already made their mistake. They made the CBA that works for everyone. Again, there's still flaws to it,
Right.
but they don't have the problems that the
Yeah,
NFL are about
nothing's
to
ever
have.
going to be perfect.
The
So-
NFL is going to have problems.
Yeah. So before we dive into both the Giants and Jets previews for the NFL season, I just want to let everybody know that maybe 2 weeks from now, I want to say maybe 3 weeks from now, we're going to have two very special episodes drop the same week.
Well,
We're going to have an exclusive fantasy football preview, takes, sleepers, busts, breakouts, rookies of the year, uh, potential wide receivers, sleepers, running backs, everything, all you can ask for.
and
in
your
fantasy football.
Josh Gordon update, which will be happening weekly.
So we're gonna give you guys a full on hour to hour and a half full of content for just fantasy football for you fantasy football fans out there. And we're also gonna do a NFL preview episode. So just like we did with the World Cup, we're gonna break down the divisions. We're gonna break down the NFC, the AFC. Teams we have making the playoffs, and then ultimately the two teams we have meeting in the Super Bowl with a winner. Now it's way too early to sell that, but that's why I said about 2-3 weeks from now, let us see some preseason games, some all season training, just to give us some ideas. Of course, you can always make those predictions now based off the all season moves, but yeah, we want to wait a little bit more before that. So we're gonna do 2 episodes in 1 week. I know Lyle will definitely be on with us for the NFL preview. Nick and I will hold it down for the NFL fantasy football podcast. Nick is going to be in another country, so hopefully we don't have to either wake up too early or go to sleep too late in order to make this work. So also before we go on to the Jets and Giants, I want to make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and Twitter at J&J Talk Sports. For those of you listening on YouTube, click subscribe to my channel. That way you'll get updated every time we go live. We are giving away free t-shirts. Here's a preview of it.
They're popping.
J&J Talk Sports. It has our at on from Instagram and Twitter on the back. We have black and we have white. We're giving those out for free. All you have to do is go to our page and you'll find out how to win there. We're gonna get into some Jets and Giants talk here, and we're gonna start open up with the Jets, and which is the biggest news, probably one of the biggest news in football. It's just not even just in New York. And the Jets opened up rookie camp yesterday, but the veterans reported today. And Sam Darnold is still a no-show. He's having contract issues. And Nick, I'm gonna have you go ahead and get into oh, you're right, Lyle. I apologize. I do apologize. We're not gonna get into the Jets stuff yet. We're gonna get into some contract negotiations and some holdouts.
We got to
So
talk about
first
my
off-
boy.
Yeah, well, not your boy, your team. We're gonna talk about those of you listening, I apologize. So Lyle, you could just edit that out. So
Sorry.
we're gonna get into some free agent talks, still some holdouts, some contract and negotiations before we get into the Jets and Giants. So Des Bryant, there's a rumor apparently. Lyle's the one that broke the news to both Nick and I during the chat. Basically, that Des Bryant is gonna go to the Browns. Apparently, what is this news going on?
Or they're
It's
anticipating Josh Gordon not playing or not being available as soon as possible. So Des Bryant would be like a fill-in, maybe a third option.
it's the greatest news ever given to a human being ever. Let me paint you a picture.
Lyle has this fantasy with the Browns for some reason.
Let me paint you a picture.
Who
He's
paint
enjoy
it for me.
Josh
Let me
Gordon.
paint you a picture.
What color is this picture?
Okay, it's obviously multicolored. We're going to the Dolby Cinema at AMC. It's that vivid. So let me paint this picture. It's week 11, right? You have a 3 receiver set. Josh Gordon on the left, Des Bryant to the right, Jarvis Landry in the slot. Oh, and then you have Carlos Hyde in the backfield, and then Baker Mayfield. Yes, Baker Mayfield starting by then, taking the snap,
No, sir.
bootlegging around. Josh Gordon just running down the field in all of his grace. Jarvis Landry taking out the safety with a lovely post route. And then just a lovely floating pass to Josh Gordon. Touchdown, Browns. Get ready. If Dez Bryant signs with this team again, Dez Bryant is not who he used to be. But if Josh Gordon needs a couple more weeks to get his head right, let's give him the weeks. Dez Bryant's an excellent fill-in. And then when you have those 3 receiver sets, magic.
Wait, so do you agree with Jarvis Landry?
What?
Agree with Jarvis Landry's you're lucky if we don't drop 40 points on you on a weekly basis and Super Bowl champions?
Well, again, Jarvis Landry's really hyped for his team. Again, they are also doing Hard Knocks, so, it's a chance to promote their brands.
We'd all be hyped if we got off the Miami Dolphins team, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless of where you're going.
Yeah, so again, honestly, this Dez Bryant to the Browns is not the worst idea. It's a lot of egos to deal with, the coach that has to, knock some skulls. But I think this would be a good move for the Browns. I think Tyrod needs as many weapons as possible. Sorry, I had to sneeze real quick. Tyrod's going to need as many weapons as possible. It's going to be – the Browns could be one of the most interesting teams in this league, and I'm excited.
Now, here's the thing. Like, I don't think the Dez signing would make sense for them because they're not a Dez Bryant player away from even making the playoffs. So you're going to waste millions of dollars to get Dez Bryant. Now, if you could get him for cheap on a 1-year deal for $5 million, then okay, then that makes sense. Yes, because then you have another weapon for Baker Mayfield who may start later on in the season with another weapon for him to develop. That's all this signing will be. It's a tryout for Dez for another team for next year, and it's a developmental process for Baker Mayfield and the Browns. As far as maybe giving him a 2 to 3 year contract and giving him millions of dollars, I think that'd be stupid. I think
agreed.
If you're gonna sign him, sign him for a 1-year deal. That's it. Just sign him for a 1-year deal because you still got Corey Coleman over there, who's a young receiver. Who, if he develops into anything serviceable, you'll have a nice piece there that you're gonna pay for cheap. Because remember, Jarvis Landry got paid, and if Josh Gordon is gonna do Josh Gordon things, he's gonna have to get paid. And you can't have two of your highest paid players be in the same position at wide receiver. So that goes without saying. Nick, anything you want to say about that Dez Bryant besides the fact that they'll probably be the best receiving corps in the league?
I mean, like I said, they're anticipating Josh Gordon not being 100% there to start the season or mostly into the training camp and preseason. I like Dez Bryant. I've always liked Dez Bryant. I think he was a phenomenal receiver. I still think to this day he's a really good receiver. He will be serviceable. And again, if you do anticipate Baker Mayfield getting that starting role, you want to set him up for success. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm a quarterback, a young quarterback, any quarterback, having Jarvis Landry in the slot and then Josh Gordon and Dez Bryant to my left and right with Njoku as my tight end, can it get better than that? Like, can you be in a better situation? It could, but
be better. You got Barkley and Odell.
Yeah.
Anyways, so before we move on to the next piece, I just want to say one really quick thing. Dez Bryant did not catch it. Next on this list, we have Julio Jones, his contract negotiations. And he basically was going to hold out, but the Falcons bid in and they adjusted, quote unquote adjusted, because I honestly do not know what this means. But basically, he was supposed to make $12.5 million this year. They gave him a $2 million adjustment to make $14.5 this year, which is fully guaranteed. And then they have to renegotiate his contract at the end of this season. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the money. I just feel like it's just weird what the Falcons did here. So
they know they have the cap room now to give him a couple extra mil. It's a sign of good faith because they don't want to deal with the protracted contract. Also, who knows if they re-sign him at the end of the year? Julio's thinking maybe they're not going to re-sign me at the end of the year because I'm an expensive commodity and I'm aging a little bit. I'm starting to get up there in years. So this is like, it's a gentleman's agreement to revisit it after he puts up another 100, 10 receptions, 1,200 yards.
Yep. And so next up here is Todd Gurley. He got a nice little fat contract. He got 4-year extension worth $60 million for an average of 15 per year with $45 million guaranteed. Nick, your thoughts on this?
Good. Pay the man. Best running back in the league, or second best running back in the league, to Le'Veon Bell. He's a phenomenal player. out the backfield, catching, running. He deserved to get paid.
Yeah.
Now, what does this do for Aaron Donald on the other end, who's also still waiting to see his big contract? It that's gonna be a tough situation there. But again, the guy deserved it. Pay him.
Yeah, so it's funny because Le'Veon Bell quote tweeted it on Twitter when that news broke, and he said, "Go get
Y'all
it,
thought I
G."
was tripping.
No, he said, "Go get it, G." He goes, "You deserve the money," with like like the flexing of the
Flexing.
arm, basically saying, "Yo, you deserve it. Like you got a good contract."
I've seen crazier
And then he
contracts.
commented it and said, "Then you guys thought I was bugging," because yes, Bell got 4 years worth 70 million, but he was only getting 30 million guaranteed, but 15 of it was already that first year. So he was already getting that 15 million guaranteed. So he was only getting 15 million guaranteed over the course of the next 4 years, and that's where Bell wasn't happy. Bell would gladly take less money if the guarantee was higher, and that's something that the Steelers weren't willing to do. Hence, why he is holding out all the training camp to the start of the season. So we actually just knocked him off our holdouts list, and we have 3 other players here now.
Let me go in on Gurley again. Gurley is younger than Bell. That's a fact. And the way the guarantees are structured, if Gurley falls off the face of the earth in terms of performance, the guarantees aren't for that. The guarantees are injury guarantees, which is big. But if his performance drops, they can still cut him with not as much effect. Just making that clear. Which is exactly, if I'm a football player at the top of my game, it's exactly what I want. Le'Veon Bell is a little bit older, but pay the man. And all the Steelers fans getting on his back, why are you siding with the owners on this? Le'Veon Bell has given you so much of his body. 400 touches a year, getting pounded on by defensive linemen. Like, what more do you want from him? He deserves
with the seductive foreplay.
Yeah, a little bit. But what more do you want from him? Yes, he might be a year or two older, but does he deserve it? Absolutely, because his style, it's not a hard-nosed style, so he's not as susceptible to injury, but he deserves the funds. And if you're not going to pay him, let him sit. This is what a part of this, the guarantees that we're seeing, this is going to be in that CBA. This is, again, the reckoning is coming. But
yep. So we actually have some breaking news here. So Lyle had mentioned it in our chat real quick that Aaron Judge is going to be out for 3 weeks, and I kind of saw that coming with the wrist injury. He got hit by a pitch today, but of course I have to look because, as we all know, Lyle's a fraud, and his information was false. Judge is actually out 6 to 8 weeks, with a minimum of
ESPN reported 3 weeks. But
no, that's the minimum 3 weeks. He's going to at least pick up a bat and start swinging at full throttle anywhere between 4 to 6. So,
all right, touche.
Kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. This is a blow, but I'm not going to get into that right now. We'll see that for the next episode. So next, we had the holdouts, right? So you have Khalil Mack, who's holding out linebacker / defensive end for the Oakland Raiders. Aaron Donald, defensive tackle and number 1 rated player in NFL Top 100. Actually, number 2. I'm sorry, Tom Brady, I believe, was number 1 yet again. DT for the Los Angeles Rams. And the player we discussed earlier, Earl Thomas, safety for the Seahawks, and of course Le'Veon Bell. So Earl Thomas and Le'Veon Bell, we already touched base on those 2 players, gentlemen. So Nick, what are your thoughts about Aaron Donald? I know you mentioned it when you were talking about Gurley, but what do you think the Gurley contract does for him? And do you think they eventually get a deal done, or does he hold out for training camp and just start, play for the season?
They have to. They have to pay the man. Aaron Donald was the defensive player of the year. That dude's an absolute freak of nature. He's one of the best players in the league. You just saw. All right, let's put it this way: Todd Gurley is on offense what Aaron Donald is on the defense. All right, you paid your top player, your best offensive player, maybe your best player on your team, but Aaron Donald is on the same level, if not more valuable on the defensive end. You have to pay what the bigger impact players on your team. I think that they will come into an agreement, or at least you have to, and everything will work out in the end.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think he does get paid, but I don't think he gets paid this year. I think they brought the Dominant Sue in for a reason. The reason they brought him in was to team him up with Donald this year, That way, when his 1 year contract is up, then they'll have the money to give Donald next year, and then just have the rest of the team build out because they're not going to bring back. So it's a 1 year rental, ultimately, right? That really they signed for what, 1 year for 15 million or 20 million, something like that. But I think he doesn't get paid this year. I think him and Sue together would dominate, and then they pay Penn next year. Aaron Donald next year, which they could probably even get him at a discount because with Sue there, they may pay him. He may not produce as much. We're gonna go on to the last player on this holdout, and that's gonna be Kahil Mack, Lyle's boy from his alma mater. Lyle,
Put some respect
what's
on that
Kahil Mack
name.
doing? What's he doing, man?
Okay.
He's being a little prima donna, bro.
Oh no. Okay. So I have a question for you before I answer this. Do you want what I'm hearing from my friends that are on the ground there, or do you want what I think is the issue? Because again, I got boys down there.
Both.
Want the truth, Lyle.
All right. So here's what my boys are telling me. He doesn't like Oakland. He doesn't want to go to Vegas either. He's not a big fan of the area. That's one. Two, he thinks the Davis in control right now is cheap. He doesn't like him. This is a man who in 4 years has put up 40.5 sacks. This is a man who went all pro in 2 positions. 2 positions, fam. That's number 2. Number 3, he's not a huge fan of Gruden. He thinks Gruden's kind of pompous. He thinks Gruden has this aura and has this way about him where he thinks his poop don't stink because he hasn't coached in 10 years. And the way that they haven't spoken.
Yeah, we should also mention that he hasn't spoken to you.
Yeah,
they haven't spoken.
Khalil.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Well, we're not sure. I'm not sure what the details are on that specifically, but I'm not surprised because he doesn't have a very high opinion of Khalil, and Khalil doesn't have a very high opinion of Gruden, and it's because he's been overhyped in the media, and Gruden carries it around with him as if he's done something in the past 10 years, and as Khalil putting his body on the line every day, actually doing something. He feels like he should be shown a little bit of respect. And lastly, he wants Von Miller money. And let's be honest, he deserves Von Miller money. Again, 40.5 sacks in the first 4 years of his career, all pro in 2 positions. Several, what do you call it? All-star appearances. I forgot what they call it in the NFL. I'm blanking out. But yeah, I think he wants out of Oakland. I think he doesn't want to go to Vegas. I think he wants to come back to the East Coast. He's a Miami kid. He went to school in Buffalo. Honestly, if he doesn't get paid Von Miller money, he plays the season and he's gone. He's done.
Yeah, I could see that happening, but they can franchise tag him as well. So there is that route. But yeah, it sucks that these players aren't getting paid, but at the same time, it's a business, right? The NFL is a business first, and then the football league second. So with all that said, finally we're gonna get into some New York Jets talk here. The Jets opened up camp today with the vets joining. Rookies opened up yesterday. And in the first 2 days, number 1 draft pick in the first round, pick number 3 overall of the New York Jets, Sam Darnold, has not reported to camp yet with contract issues arising. He's one of 2 rookies in the first round to not have their their contract signed yet. Roldon Smith,
linebacker for the Bears.
Georgia, for the Bears. Well, from Georgia to the Bears. So he's the only other player that has not signed. So it's not a money issue because Darnold is getting the same amount of guaranteed as Barkley and Chubb, which is $30 million. It's the wording in the issue, and basically
it's the same issue that Joey Bosa had, and then Joey Bosa came and played.
Had the same issue 3 years ago, where the Chargers wanted to have the rights to cut him without paying, but Joey Bosa did not want to have that. But it's I think it's a different situation, and here's why it's a different situation. Every day you lose time with Darnold doesn't benefit him. And it doesn't benefit the organization. Someone like Joey Bosa, he plays defensive end. Like he could miss all of the offseason, and he could just go right in there and go attack the quarterback. It's as simple as that. I'm gonna give you guys a bold take right now. If Darnold misses at least half the preseason, he does not start 1 game this season.
I mean, I don't think I had him starting a game except for injury this season anyway. It's not that bold to me.
I mean, I think the contract negotiations will settle in within the next week or so, but Um, the longer the more he prolongs this, it just hurts him. Like he wants to start as soon as possible, or at least that should be every quarterback's goal, rookie or not. The longer you take, you're missing out on chemistry. You're missing out on the opportunity to start as soon as possible. I mean, the only way I see Darnold having started anyway was if McCown goes down again and Bridgewater most likely gets hurt, or we have a completely losing season. But again, he's only hurting himself.
Yeah, I don't think he's even hurting himself with the chemistry or anything. I think the biggest thing he's hurting himself with, if this prolongs, it's going to be with the fans. The fans kind of turned on Bosa. His team kind of turned on him until he started playing well. I mean, yes, do what you need to do, but be realistic. The Jets have had the worst quarterback history of almost any team not named the Browns. So I guess you can understand why they're just like, we want to be able to cut you. We dealt with Sanchez. We've dealt with O'Donnell. We've dealt with Foley. We've dealt with enough terrible quarterbacks that like we have some hangups on giving quarterbacks some things.
So speaking of quarterbacks, right? The Jets they have an interesting quarterback situation because they gave a 1-year deal to Teddy Bridgewater, who hadn't played a snap in 2 years and did last year. You bring back Josh McCown, who's 39 years old, if I'm not mistaken, who is basically
39 years young, sir. Put some respect on that name.
One hit away from being in a retirement home. And then you have, of course, your first round overall pick in third spot in Sam Darnold. So, Lyle, you seem convinced that Darnold isn't going to play a snap this year.
Nick,
I'm going to ask you, Nick. Let's say going into week 10, the Jets are 4-6. They're pretty much not going to make the playoffs. If you had to choose to start Darnold or Bridgewater, just right now, just based off what you know, who would you rather start? Or do you alternate?
4-6 still has playoff implications, brother. Again, I love Teddy Bridgewater. I thought his rookie year was pretty good, and he showed some promise. I also don't believe in starting rookie quarterbacks as soon as possible. Again, you want them to develop, you want them to watch the game, learn from other quarterbacks that precede him. Would I start Sam Darnold if Bridgewater is available? No, absolutely not. But I also believe that there really is no point of having Teddy Bridgewater on the team. You're either going to start him or trade him. So you got to find value out of Teddy Bridgewater. There's no way he rides the bench all year if McCown goes down.
So you brought up a good point. If they're 4-6, the Jets have their bye week 11. Their game after the bye week, their 11th game, which when they would be 4-6, is the Patriots, and that schedule after that is division heavy. It's Patriots, Bills, Dolphins, and they play the Patriots again. So putting in a rookie quarterback as the first game against the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick,
that's money.
It's rough. I think if he starts, the earliest we see Sam Darnold,
you got to throw him in the Wolves.
It's going to be a meaningless game, and the earliest we see Sam Darnold is against the Houston Texans, week 15.
Okay, so we know the situation with Robbie Anderson, right? So he's most likely going to face a suspension now, and apparently it might be a heavy suspension.
Likely, possibly.
Say that again.
I wouldn't say most likely, but I'd say possibly.
Yeah. So let's say he does get suspended. Actually, let's say he doesn't get suspended. Let's say hypothetically Anderson doesn't get suspended. Who's going to be the number one wide receiver on this squad? You're bringing back Robbie Anderson, who had a breakout year. Jermaine Kearse had a phenomenal year last year, especially after the trade. Then you bring in Terrell Pryor to see what he has left in the tank, and then Quincy Enunwa, who had a very quality rookie season, is coming back. Between those 4 wide receivers, who's going to be the go-to receiver? Who's going to be the X? Who's going to be the one who's going to get the game-winning pass? From McCown or Darnold or whoever's on the center. Nick.
I think they all have the capability, but if I were to go with one, I would say Kearse has a more refined relationship with McCown. Again, that he's been there last year. He had some pretty good plays last year. So I would say, as far as trusting, you would go with Kearse. Although I do believe that Terrell Pryor is going to have actually a pretty good year this year. I would say 800 plus yards, maybe 5 or so touchdowns. But again, if Robbie Anderson misses a couple games, he is a speedy receiver that takes the top off the defense. He improved drastically from the 2016 season. But I think we'll be all right as far as offensive weapons. We brought in Terrell Pryor to add that kind of depth. Lyle, what's up? What do you think?
So again, the go-to receiver, Jermaine Kearse, showed time and again he is a reliable receiver. He's the opposite of a liability. Yes, I said liability. Look it up. But again, if Robbie Anderson gets suspended, we do have some rookie speedsters. Our Darius Stewart, Sharon Peak have motors. It's not again Anunwa and Pryor and Kearse don't have that top end speed. Very good route runners, and Anunwa basically has the size of a tight end with the hands of a receiver. If he can get back to even 90% of what he was before he got injured, the Jets receiving corps, yes, they don't scream superstar talent, but they scream effective blue collar, hard working receiving corps that they're gonna give some secondaries a tough time just with their physicality and their good route running. So there is no true number one receiver on this team.
Yeah,
they don't exist.
I think I don't want to foreshadow too much, but I think if this is fantasy football wise, I put all my eggs in. If I had to put all my eggs in one basket, it'd be for Quincy and none one. But that's just my.
That's only on a PPR basis because again he's gonna get a lot of targets. So I don't see
consistency, but as far as go to, I think that's a completely different variable.
We have no idea. The ball could be passed around a lot, and that's honestly I'd rather see that than having a true number one because you never know who's going to go to.
Breeze it out rather than have the number one.
So is this backfield Chris Ivory? You hear me? Isaiah Crowell's to lose, or is Bilal Powell finally going to get a shot? I feel like this guy has been the backseat in that backfield for year after year, no matter how much he's been able to prove it.
Yeah, this is absolutely Isaiah Crowell's backfield to lose, and here's why. If the Jets wanted Bilal Powell to be the guy, he would have been the guy already.
He would have gone Crowell.
Yeah, there's a reason. Bilal Powell is not an every down back. These are facts. He's great in the third and fourth quarter when defenses are tired. Elijah McGuire has that top end speed. Crowell's going to be that first and second down. Pound your defense. Yeah, he's going to pound the defense to the pulp so the speedsters can get around them. That's it.
I agree.
Yeah, and then we have this defense who made some adjustments, some additions, you may say, but they also lost some players this offseason. Nick, how do you feel about this defense going into the 2018 season?
I kind of really love our defense going into 2018. We have a lot of young, athletic players who are going to be able to run around a lot. We're transitioning to a 3-4 defense, which is going to free up the linebackers and defensive backs to be a little more athletic, run around a bit more, making plays. We have an improved linebacker core. I mean, we're going to miss I used to love David Harris. I love Demario Davis. But we acquired Avery Williamson. We have Deron Lee, who I love. That dude, he's going to be a spectacular player. Lorenzo Molden coming back from injury to play that outside linebacker position, offering some pass rush. Jordan Jenkins, who's coming into his own. And we added, who I know Lyle was very excited for, Tremaine Johnson, who is a phenomenal cornerback. We have our safeties in Jamal Adams and Marcus Maye. And Morris Claiborne on the other end. We can move Buster Screen back into a nickel back corner, so he doesn't need to play in every down a corner position against oversized players, which we saw last year. I'm not exactly sure how tall Buster Screen is, but I think it's around the 5'10" range. And he was getting matched up against these taller receivers, and he led the AFC in penalties. And I remember he single-handedly costed us one of the Patriots games. It was Lyle. He single-handedly costed us one of those Patriots games. I think it was like Gronkowski. He had to defend Gronkowski in one play. It was unbearable. But honestly, we're a young team, up and coming. Lyle said earlier, 2019 could be our year. Let the players develop a little bit more, get a little bit more chemistry. But honestly, we're in a good direction. It's a bright light where we've been dark for so long. So I'm happy.
Yeah. So our defense, I forgot what linebacker we lost this past I think we sent him to the Browns or something, but then we picked up Avery Williamson. He's not as mobile. So I guess I'm concerned. I mean, I like our defense. Don't get me wrong.
100 tackle season type linebacker though.
Yeah. Again, I like our defense. Yeah. Am I in love with this defense? No, we're missing a crucial element.
Pass rushing.
Pass rush. Can Jordan Jenkins be that Calvin Pace? I think he's more athletic. I think his ability in moving to a 3-4 with a really solid nose tackle, McClendon,
yeah.
Leonard Williams, he'll take the doubles, and then, the other starter looks to be Henry Anderson. We'll see what Nathan Shepard can develop into, because he's a big dude. And if he could be that Chris Jenkins that I used to love, and then he got injured and then made me sad, that would be great. And you also touched on one thing that I think is the most important part. Buster Skrine going back to the slot is going to be the biggest improvement, because he's a good slot corner, but he cannot guard a receiver streaking down the side. Every single play was a pass interference. This Jets defense definitely improved. Needs a pass rusher, but I think we're in for an interesting year. I also do want to say a huge pickup in kicker in Cairo Santos. Love Cairo.
Can't forget about that.
Yeah, so you once again you representing the Brazilian players, huh?
I've had Cairo Santos on my fantasy team like 4 years in a row up until he got injured this past year. Cairo's my homeboy, so I respect the move.
So really quickly here, expectations. I'm assuming you guys don't assume the Jets will make the playoffs this year.
I do.
Nick is confident. Again, the AFC wild card might be in play, especially with the Jets having a weak division in the Bills and the Dolphins. They have a tough schedule. Will they compete? Yes. Will they make it? I think we're a year too early, in my opinion.
I mean, I agree.
All right.
2019, I think, could be our year. But again, there were many close battles last year that we could have pulled off with. Our schedule last year wasn't that much easier. The team, I believe, is a lot better this year with higher hopes. I think with a lot of teams in the AFC possibly dropping out of the playoffs, there are some that look to be heading in. You never know. And honestly, now we have a defense that Bulls can play around with and get a little excited and have some fun. Could be our year to make the playoffs. I'm not saying our year to win the Super Bowl, but to at least have something for us to watch.
Yeah, I don't think Jets will
Wait,
make the
I
playoffs.
heard Jets are going to the Super Bowl. Jets
No.
Super Bowl.
Let's not go that far.
I was about to get
Playoff
yeah.
berth, not out of this world.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on to the Giants here and talk about them for a bit. So the Giants opened up camp yesterday. Everyone reported, especially OBJ. But before we get into that, just want to mention that David Gettleman, who is the new GM of the Giants, has not, I guess, defeated his cancer, but he's fighting it and he's doing well. Just wanted to show him some love there. About 3 weeks ago, the NFL had the supplementary draft, right? These are players who were either hurt and weren't eligible to go back to college, but then they're going into this supplement draft that they have. It's kind of weird, but if you use a draft pick in a specific round, you lose your draft pick for the following year. So the Giants in the third round selected Sam Beal. He was a cornerback out of the University of Central Michigan, and before getting hurt, he was actually a top 10 cornerback coming into the NFL draft. So the Giants actually got a really good corner who was going to play their slot or maybe on the outside with question marks in the cornerback position. But he ends up getting hurt, his shoulder. Now he's out for the year. Lyle's laughing. I don't know if he's laughing at that or if he's laughing at
because honestly, I'm not laughing at the injury. The injury is unfortunate, but like Sam Beal was a steal.
Amazing steal.
But again, this just compounds the Giants' problem in the secondary, and it's going to be an Achilles heel for them. I hope Sam Beal makes a recovery and comes back 2019 and has a great NFL career. But just watching the Giants have Mets syndrome is a little funny.
Yeah, but that's not the biggest news here. The biggest news here is that OBJ actually reports. So while you have players like Julio, who was threatening to hold out, right? Aaron Donald holding out, Khalil Mack holding out, Le'Veon Bell holding out, Earl Thomas holding out. You have all these superstars who are holding out for more money, for better contracts, to be traded, or whatever the case may be. You have someone like OBJ who always has a target on his back, who people are always criticizing, yet he reported to Giants camp today and expects to be there every day, every week, working as if he was paid. Lau, you have any thoughts on that? Do you think OBJ is maturing? Do you think this is just a charade so that he could get his money and go back to the way he was?
So, OBJ doesn't have a choice. And here's why I say that. One, he's coming off an injury. He hasn't played in a very long time. he's only worth that big money to the Giants right now. He doesn't have as much leverage because of that injury. Number two, the off the field antics also reduce his value. Whether or not you think he's being targeted, whether or not you believe anything that's happening. There's that whole news story about like his boys got into a fight and he might have been there, he might have ordered them, or he might have not. Again, it just compounds the fact that OBJ's off the field antics could be a potential problem. Yeah, I'm looking and to know this. He understands he has to be either the best receiver in the league or a very, very good receiver in the league and have a pretty good off the field reputation. And it starts with training camp. He's a smart guy. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he's adding value to himself by showing up.
Yeah, so actually that fight that ended up happening ended up just being like a look-alike of OBJ. It was actually pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah. So but anyways, so
that hotel room incident with the cocaine, the ladies.
yeah, and that's the video situation. It says that there's question marks there, but I think in reporting, it just showed maturity,
good faith.
regardless if he doesn't have the leverage or not. I think this is good for both him and the Giants, and I do think a deal eventually does get done before the season.
I mean, we'll see if a deal. I don't know if a deal gets done before the season. They haven't talked about it, but I think OBJ might hold out to make a deal until he starts, putting up the numbers we know he can put up.
Yeah. So we know Julio's contract got adjusted right from 12.5 to 14.5, and then they're gonna renegotiate his contract at the end of the season, terminating the last two. So you have to think that Julio's probably going to get paid around the 16 to 17 range. If that does happen, Nick, what kind of leverage do you think OBJ then does have then if Julio does get that type of money that OBJ is requesting?
It gives him a lot of leverage, especially if he comes back as this type of receiver he was before his injury. Again, the injury does play a factor. We don't know exactly what we can expect from him, although we still expect OBJ to be a top 3 receiver in the league, no matter what. If Julio Jones does get that money, we can expect that OBJ will get the same treatment.
How much did you predict Julio getting per year after they renegotiate?
He'll probably get 16 to 17.
Okay, so honestly, I don't think it gives him any more.
Which is right where AB is.
Yeah, I don't think it gives him any more leverage than he already has. Mike Evans is doing 16.5, Hopkins 16.2, Watkins is 16. Like again, he'll be up there in the upper echelon. I think that I don't think that I don't think he becomes the highest paid. I don't think the Giants will pay him more than the Steelers paid AB. They might give him more guarantees.
Well, we'll see how the year plays out, though. We still have to see how the year plays out, unless they do sign him before the season starts. So we're gonna move on here really quickly. Olivia Vernon came out and commented about Will Hernandez, who was our second round pick, who should have been a first round pick for a lot of people. He's can't talk more than enough about the guy. Like he's hyping him up. He's saying that this guy is going to be legit. He's going to be a good player, a good lineman for the Giants. And the fact that the Giants were able to find a stud like that in the second round, a first round talent in the left guard position, then you add Nate Solder in the offseason from the Patriots. I think the Giants did very well this offseason in building up that offensive line. So I'm really happy for them with that. And then we go ahead and we look at this wide receiver corps, right? And we already talked about OBJ, but when it comes to the wide receiver corps, you have OBJ, you have Sterling Shepard, and yes, the Giants did release Brandon Marshall, but you bring him back Ingram. Now, I think it's easy to say that Ingram is going to regress this year, right? Because OBJ is coming back, but he did lead all tight ends last year and rookies with drops. So let's say he doesn't drop as many passes that he did last year, and who do you think, like Nick, who do you think will be like the next go-to? Like it's OBJ and Barkley are gonna get theirs, but do you think like Shepard is going to be a solidified number 2 receiver, or do you think Ingram is just too talented and will get too involved in game script in the games going forward in this season, where you'll see more of a tight end shift in the offense, leaning more towards Ingram than Shepard?
I think a clear-cut number 2 will be Evan Ingram. It showed it last year how much when everybody else went down, how much Eli was relying on him. Again, he's not really a blocker. His main purpose is to be a receiving tight end. He showed great athleticism. He's shown that he could be a tremendous threat in the red zone. I think he will be the go-to guy in the red zone, even above OBJ. Again, OBJ has that speed. He can do a quick slant. He can even hit up that the outside pylon. But Evan Ingram, I believe, will be a clear-cut second option for Eli Manning, especially if he needs a safety valve or like a guaranteed big body frame to just throw in a tight window. And beyond that, I would say Sterling Shepard showed great promise. He was also very athletic, great hands, tight route runner. Yeah, there's a few options there.
Yeah, I see. I don't think Eli is. You have to see what you're gonna get from Eli, right? Like he's not Tom Brady. He's not
Of course
40
not.
plus years old. Throwing the ball to a tight end, a running back, and the receiver, and supporting all of them at the same time. I think Ingram is going to be the number 2 receiving targets. I think eventually Barkley may even top, like 100 targets as well, depending on how much they use him. But I think it'll be OBJ, it'll be Ingram, and then Shepard. I think Shepard will be a fine wide receiver next year, a fine number 2. I just think Ingram showed so much promise out of the tight end position, and being that matchups are always going to be in his favor. I think he'll end up as the number 2 target getter, the number 2 in receptions, maybe on that team.
Ingram is a tight end. I just think he's an oversized wide receiver.
I think okay. So I we talked about Ingram, Shepard, OBJ. Cool. Those are the names everyone's looking at.
Where's Eli?
There's one receiver that I think is going to shock everyone this year in the New York Giants. His name is Cody Latimer. Do you guys know about Cody Latimer? Because I know about
Cody.
Cody.
For Denver Broncos.
Excellent special teams player. Had a decent season as like the wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 for Denver. Solid numbers, 7.3 yards per catch, couple scores, 300 yards. Honestly, he looks good in camp. He's fast. He works hard. I think he might be the surprise go-to receiver on the underneath.
He's been a buzz so far in his career, and they were actually saying when they brought him over to New York, right? They were like maybe the change of scenery would do him good, and
he's had a good camp.
He has had a good camp.
He'll be on the roster as special teams at minimum, but I think this might be the year with the running game the Giants have with the other weapons. Cody Latimer shows what he's capable of.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll definitely see, and I think we're all in agreement on the backfield, right? This is basically Barkley's backfield. The only way he loses his job, even if he's not even good, like. The only way he loses his job is if he gets injured. I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement there.
Or if he goes full Trent Richardson, because everybody thought Trent Richardson was going to be great.
I still don't even think so. I think you invested too much money on him and to draft stock in order to just bench him just because.
Oh, no, they gave Trent Richardson a couple of years.
A couple of years, exactly my point. And then I'm going to talk about the defense really quickly. The Giants didn't do much on defense. They actually lost JPP this offseason, right? But what they did in the draft, right? They signed William Gay, cornerback. They signed William Gay, and okay, he's a veteran who's going to be in that secondary. But in the draft, they addressed a lot of issues. They drafted Lorenzo Carter out of Georgia, outside linebacker, which is something that they needed. They drafted B.J. Hill, who was a phenomenal edge rusher, interior lineman out of North Carolina State. And then you have R.J. McIntosh out of Miami. So they added some beef up there on that lineman. You still bringing back Snacks, who thank you, New York Jets. That's the greatest gift you can give us, New York Giants people. He's been phenomenal. He's been phenomenal. Olivia Vernon played amazing last year when he was fully healthy. And then you still got Landon Collins holding down that secondary. So I know the secondary is going to be struggling, but I think the defense last year was so bad because the offense was so bad. And I think as long as the Giants offense can continue to put up points as they were in 2016, I think the defense will follow its footsteps and play much better as well. As far as my expectations,
before you get there, you have the Giants shades on. I hate to break this to you, and it's because I care about you. This defense is going to be bad.
No,
it's going to be in the bottom half of the NFL. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the depth.
They could be on the bottom half. They'll be the 16th worst defense. That's not bad.
Let me rephrase. They're gonna be below 24. They're gonna be bad. I'm sorry. If Eli Apple, even if Eli Apple gets his head out of his own tuchus, their linebacking core is awful. Alec Ogletree, again, I think he's a hard worker. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Awful. He was ranked 31st in middle line. You haven't had a good middle linebacker since Jesse Armstead, sir. It's bad. I think your offense is going to need to put up points. Your offense is going to need to be good because this defense is going to be that bad. That's
This
just
is
my
exactly
take.
why I don't listen to Lyle. Anyways.
Okay. You know,
Nah, listen, I
I
don't think the defense is going to be as bad as it was last year.
mean, that's like that's a very low bar.
Yeah, but if as long as the offense is better, the defense will be better. But as far as my expectations for the year, like I said earlier, I do not think a New York football team makes the playoffs. As much as I would love the Giants to do so, I just think there's too much talent in the NFC. You have two divisions in which 2 to 3 teams could even make it. Just look at the NFC South. You have the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons. Those are 3 teams that made the playoffs last year, right? Then you have the NFC West with the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears. That's another tough division. So I just think there's too much talent on other teams. It'll be really tough for the Giants to make the playoffs. And that will pretty much do it for this episode. I know we talked a lot, guys. We appreciate you staying and sticking with us to the end. Once again, you can follow our page on Instagram and Twitter at J&J Talk Sports. Make sure to email us as well.
You can win a free T-shirt if you follow us and tag your boys or
follow
girls.
us. We have a picture of our T-shirts on our Instagram page. Just tag 3 of your friends, follow us, repost on your timeline, on your feed, whatever it is that you want, and you'll enter to win a free shirt. We have a lot left.
It's T-shirt
You're
time.
pretty much guaranteed to win if you go ahead and go do that. Remember, that's at J&J Talk Sports. You can follow me on Twitter at easypalizzi_21. Lyle, where can I
follow me on Twitter at Lyles Style, LYLESSTYLE. We will be getting our own YouTube channel, so we don't have to piggyback off Justin soon. And be on the lookout because J&J Talk Sports is coming to Twitch when Nick returns from Greece. Get hype, fam. Get hype.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stefanoun. That's STEPHANOUN.
Yes, pay attention to our Twitters and Instagram accounts so that we can keep you guys updated on the exact releases for the fantasy football episode and the NFL preview episode.
And also for our hot takes, because we have hot takes all day. Like we're tweeting hot takes all day. And it's a problem.
And that'll be it from here from J&J Talk Sports. So from me to you guys, we are out.
We out, fam.
See you guys.